"Sir, I need you to step back." She could bite. The security guard's voice sliced through the polished air of Empire Plaza's marble lobby like a siren. Dozens of people stopped mid-step. Phones froze in mid-air. The tension was thick enough to chew. On the cold tile floor, near a gleaming sculpture that looked like it belonged in a spaceship, sat a little girl. 7, maybe 8, tiny, pale, blonde, and trembling like a wire in the wind. Her knees hugged her chest. Her eyes darted. Fast, frantic, wild. One hand tapped the floor in some silent rhythm only she could hear. The other clutched a small plastic dinosaur like it was oxygen. Around her, chaos disguised in cashmere. Suits, heels, Rolexes. Executives pacing, whispering into AirPods, unsure whether to help or flee. A woman in a navy pantsuit muttered, "She's spiraling again. Where the hell is her therapist?" Nobody got close. Nobody dared. Except him. Malik Johnson, 38. Broad-shouldered, dark-skinned. Janitor badge swinging from his belt. He'd just finished mopping up a coffee spill near the south elevators when the screaming started. Now, he stood frozen, mop in one hand, heart pounding. But not from fear. From recognition. He'd seen this before. In his classroom. In his son. In the mirror on nights he couldn't sleep. The guard blocked his path. "You touch her, you're gone, man. She's the CEO's daughter. This whole building runs on silence around her." But Malik wasn't listening. He wasn't looking at the cameras. Or the shocked executives. He was watching her. Not judging. Just watching. Then he dropped to one knee. Slowly. Deliberately. He set the mop aside. Reached into the side pouch of his cleaning cart. Out came a travel-size bottle of dish soap. Then a small straw. Bent and faded from use. He dipped it in water, then raised it to his lips. And blew. One bubble. Then 2. 3. Floating. Flickering. Catching light from the lobby skylight. The girl stopped rocking. Her eyes locked on the orbs. Her breathing slowed. Silence. Except the gentle pop of a bubble drifting too close. From the mezzanine, behind tinted glass, Vanessa Sterling, billionaire, CEO, and mother of the trembling girl, watched it unfold. Frozen. Not in shock, but in awe. Because for the first time in weeks, her daughter had stopped screaming. And started watching. Malik Johnson wasn't the kind of man people remembered in passing. He wasn't loud. He didn't walk like he owned the room. He never pushed through doors first. He held elevators. Said sir and ma'am. He showed up early, stayed late, and made sure every surface he touched was clean enough to reflect light. That's what people saw. A janitor. A quiet man. Background noise in a building built on noise. What they didn't see, what they never bothered to ask, was that Malik used to be a teacher. A special education teacher. For almost a decade, he was the kind of man who could sit on a gym floor for 2 hours just to get a nonverbal child to make eye contact. He believed every kid had a language. They just needed space to speak it. Then came the accident. A rainy night. A drunk driver. And a phone call that cut his world in half. Tasha, his wife, his anchor. Gone in seconds. After that, the classroom felt like a ghost town. Every smile reminded him of what he'd lost. Every child's story rubbed salt in wounds he hadn't even found yet. So he left. Moved from Baton Rouge to New York with nothing but a box of clothes and his 5-year-old son, Tyson. He took the janitor job because it paid steady and let him be home by dinner. Tyson deserved consistency. A man who came home at 6 p.m. sharp. A man who could teach him to tie his shoes, not just survive another day. Malik didn't mind mopping floors. He didn't mind going unnoticed. What mattered was the rhythm, the routine. But deep down, beneath the quiet, was a man who never stopped watching, never stopped noticing. And that's why, on that day, when everyone else froze in place, he moved. Not because he had a plan, but because his soul recognized the sound of a child lost in a world too loud for her to survive. Malik had just finished refilling the mop bucket when he heard his name echo across the loading dock hallway. "Mr. Johnson," said a voice, cool, controlled, unmistakably used to being obeyed. He turned, slowly, expecting a supervisor, maybe even security. Instead, he found himself face to face with a woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a Wall Street magazine spread. Vanessa Sterling. He'd seen her picture in the business section once. CEO of Sterling Tech, worth hundreds of millions, called the Ice Queen of Innovation, in an article that praised her ruthlessness as much as her intellect. But in person, she didn't look ruthless. She looked shaken, like someone who just watched the rules of her world get rewritten in front of her. "Do you have a minute?" she asked, not really asking. Malik wiped his hands on a towel, nodded once. She led him into a private elevator. No words, just silence and space. They ascended to the 21st floor, executive level. All glass and brushed steel. Clean lines. No mess. No sound. Her office was massive. Cold, elegant, distant. Like her. She gestured for him to sit. He didn't. She noticed. "You calmed her," she said finally. "Lila. My daughter." Malik nodded slowly. "I didn't talk to her. I just... Saturday." Vanessa's eyes narrowed slightly. "She doesn't sit near anyone. Doesn't touch. Doesn't trust. Therapists have flown in from Switzerland, Seattle, Singapore. Nothing. And yet, bubbles." Malik didn't respond. "Not yet. I want to know what you did," she pressed. "And I want you to do it again." That's when he spoke. Steady. "Miss Sterling, I didn't do anything to her. I was just present. And she chose peace." She blinked. That wasn't what she expected. Maybe not what she wanted to hear. "You want to hire me," he added, "but I don't work on children. I work with them. And only if they invite me." Vanessa straightened. "So name your terms." Malik looked her in the eye. Not with defiance. With clarity. No cameras. No specialists breathing down her neck. No checklists. No interruptions. "I come, I listen, I leave. And only if she wants me there again." Vanessa said nothing for a long time. Then she exhaled, slow, measured, surrendering something she didn't name. "Fine," she said. "You start tomorrow. After school. 4 p.m. Malik gave a single nod. "Then I'll be there." For her. The next afternoon, the sun hung low over Manhattan, casting long shadows across the polished windows of the Sterling penthouse. Malik stood outside the massive steel and glass entryway, unsure if he was early or just stalling. He wore the cleanest shirt he owned, buttoned down, sleeves rolled neatly. His boots, still worn at the soles, had been scrubbed the night before with a toothbrush. He held no briefcase, no clipboard, no expectations. He buzzed once. The door swung open not by a housekeeper, not by security, but by Vanessa herself. This time, she wasn't wearing heels or her signature slate gray blazer. She was barefoot, in jeans and a soft navy sweater. Her hair was tied back loosely, like she'd tried to keep control and halfway gave up. "Come in," she said simply, stepping aside. The penthouse was what he expected. Modern, expensive, and emotionally cold. Glass, chrome, neutral tones. A place designed to impress investors, not comfort a child. Malik took it all in quietly. "She's in her room," Vanessa said. "Same spot. Hasn't moved much since yesterday." He nodded, but didn't head there right away. "Before I see her," he said, "let's make sure we understand each other." Vanessa raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me. I'm not a therapist. I'm not here to fix her," he said. "I'm not going to write reports, diagnose, or manage outcomes. I'm here because she gave me something most people don't. Permission to be in her space. And if that changes, I leave. Simple as that." Vanessa crossed her arms. "I'm used to people working for me, not setting the rules." "Then this might be new ground for both of us," Malik replied, not unkindly. She stared at him for a beat too long. Then finally, gave the faintest nod. "What do you need from me?" she asked. No interruptions. No one hovering outside the door. And no expectations. If all I do is sit there while she draws and doesn't say a word, that's still progress. Vanessa hesitated. That word, progress. It hit her in a place she didn't know was still soft. "You're not like anyone I've ever hired," she murmured. "I'm not here for the job," Malik said gently. "I'm here for the girl." Vanessa swallowed something sharp in her throat and stepped aside. "She's in the corner room. Left hallway." As Malik headed down the hall, the silence between them wasn't awkward anymore. It was agreement. The kind that doesn't come from paperwork, but from permission. The door to Lila's room was slightly ajar. Malik paused outside, not knocking, just listening. The room was quiet, not in the way peaceful rooms are, but in the way silence screams when something's broken. He pushed the door open slowly. She was there, just as Vanessa had said, curled up in the far corner beside the wide bay window, knees drawn to her chest, staring at the skyline as if it might run away if she blinked. Her hair was pulled into a loose braid, but strands had escaped, clinging to her cheeks. Her arms wrapped around a stuffed giraffe, faded from too many washes. She didn't flinch when he entered. She didn't speak, didn't look. Malik didn't, either. Instead, he walked to the opposite side of the room, 10 feet away, and sat down with a slow, deliberate exhale. He placed a spiral sketchpad on the soft carpet between them and pulled a pencil from behind his ear. Without saying a word, he began to draw. Lines. Circles. A tree with uneven branches. A girl beneath it, with wide eyes and untied shoes. A bubble floating above her head. Lila didn't move. Minutes passed. Then a shift. She leaned, barely, but enough to notice. Her gaze dipped toward the paper, not his face. Her fingers twitched, like static trying to become sound. Malik finished the drawing, set it down gently, then slid it forward, still saying nothing. Lila watched it like prey watches movement. Then slowly she stretched out a hand, dragged the pad toward her. He didn't react, didn't praise, didn't smile. She stared at the image. Her eyes darted to his pencil. Then, in a motion so soft it might have been instinct, she reached for a crayon beside her, a blue one, the kind with the wrapper half peeled, favorite color worn, and she began to color. Just the bubble, just that one small shape. Malik didn't move. He started a new sketch, this time with a sun behind the tree. He placed it beside him again. Lila didn't speak, but she didn't leave. And somehow, in that stillness, two people had a conversation neither of them would ever forget. Vanessa watched from the hallway. Not with a tablet. Not through a nanny cam. Just her own two eyes. She'd cracked the door open only a few inches, barely breathing, afraid a single sound might shatter whatever fragile magic was unfolding inside. She expected chaos, disinterest, rejection. Instead, she saw her daughter sitting cross-legged, crayon in hand, coloring the edge of a paper with a level of stillness that felt foreign and sacred. She couldn't hear what Malik had said. Probably nothing. That was the strangest part. He wasn't talking. He wasn't instructing. He was just there. Quiet. Steady. Knees on the floor like he belonged more in that moment than any therapist ever had in her $1,000 conference room. Vanessa leaned back against the hallway wall, pressing a palm to her stomach as if that could calm the ache rising in her chest. It wasn't jealousy. It was memory. Her mind drifted, uninvited, back to the days when Lila was still babbling. Back before the silence. Before the specialists and the late-night research and the endless hollow Googling of phrases like regression and early signs. She remembered the tiny voice that used to say, "More blue, Mommy," every time they pulled out the watercolor kit. Blue skies. Blue flowers. Blue dresses. Blue was her joy. Then one day, the joy stopped, and she buried the kit in the back of a closet, too afraid to look at it. Now, years later, her daughter was coloring again, with a blue crayon, on her own, with someone who never asked her to speak, only offered space if she wanted to. It wasn't therapy. It was trust. And it cracked something inside Vanessa that she didn't realize was still sealed shut. She walked to the kitchen, slowly, her hands trembling. She reached for the fridge, opened it, then paused. Her usual reach would have been for the glass pitcher of alkaline water, poured over crystal-clear ice cubes with a lemon wedge. Not today. She grabbed a plain glass, turned the faucet on, and for the first time in a long time, filled a cup from the tap. No filters. No perfection. Just water. She sipped it and stood still, letting the cold hit the back of her throat. That's when she realized. She hadn't just been building a wall around Lila. She'd built one around herself, too. And Malik, somehow, had found a way to sit quietly on both sides of it. 2 days later, Malik arrived not alone, but with a shadow beside him. A small one. Tyson. 7 years old, bright-eyed, with a kind of quiet confidence that doesn't need permission to shine. He wore a faded NASA hoodie, one sneaker untied, and clutched a Ziploc bag filled with broken crayons and a single toy spaceship missing its left wing. Vanessa met them at the door. She blinked. "You brought him?" she asked, more surprised than annoyed. Malik nodded. "I asked Lila yesterday if I could bring my son next time. She didn't say no." Vanessa opened her mouth to question that logic, then closed it. Tyson stepped inside like he'd been there before. He didn't ask for a tour. Didn't ask where to go. He followed the silence. Lila was in her usual spot. Corner window, sketchpad in lap. She didn't look up when they entered, but her fingers stopped moving. Just briefly. Malik crouched beside Tyson. "Same rules apply, champ. No talking unless she talks first. Give her space. Don't take it." Tyson nodded solemnly, like someone being given a mission in a galaxy far, far away. Then slowly he walked toward her. Not directly, but in a curve respectful, like gravity bending around something delicate. He sat down exactly 5 feet away, pulled out his spaceship, set it gently on the floor, waited. Lila peeked. Just once. Then looked away. Then again. Still no words. Tyson, without glancing up, took out a blue crayon, drew a circle, then a smaller one beside it, then slid the page halfway between them. Lila didn't reach for it, but she didn't move away, either. She just stared, and that was enough. Vanessa, watching from the hallway again, felt something unfamiliar tighten in her throat. Not fear, not even hope. Something gentler. Recognition. 2 children. One silent. One patient. No pressure. No expectation. Just presence. Malik stepped beside her and whispered. He's used to this. His mom. She was gentle with everything. Especially noise. Vanessa didn't ask questions. She just nodded. In that room, nothing extraordinary happened. And yet somehow everything did. Because a girl who once lived in corners had just made space for someone else to sit beside her. The photo showed up online 3 days later. Blurry. Zoomed in. Taken from somewhere near the top floor of Empire Plaza. In the image, Malik sat cross-legged on the floor beside Lila, a bubble wand in one hand, a soft smile on his face. Lila wasn't smiling exactly, but her body was relaxed, her head tilted ever so slightly in his direction. It was a quiet moment. Private. And now it was public. By the time Vanessa's assistant forwarded the link to her inbox, the article had already made the rounds. Sterling Tech CEO replaces specialist team with janitor, child crisis or corporate chaos. From boardroom to bubbles. Is Vanessa Sterling losing her grip? The headlines were cruel. Clickbait. But the damage was very real. That morning, when Vanessa walked into the Sterling Tech boardroom, it was like stepping onto ice. Eyes narrowed. Phones buzzed discreetly. No one said anything. Until Greg Stanton did. Greg had been the company's head of public relations for over a decade. Sharp suits. Sharper tongue. A man who believed damage control was just another form of strategy. He slid the printed article across the table. "Explain," he said flatly. Vanessa barely blinked. "That's Malik Johnson. He's been visiting my daughter." Greg raised a brow. "Yes, I gathered. The question is, why?" She sat back in her chair, folding her hands calmly. "Because she trusts him. Something she hasn't done with any of the 15 licensed professionals we've flown in." Someone at the end of the table scoffed under their breath. Greg leaned forward. "Vanessa, I'm not questioning your parenting. I'm questioning optics. This could cost us major contracts. Investors don't like unpredictability. Vanessa's gaze sharpened. Then maybe they've never raised a child with sensory challenges. Greg didn't flinch. You hired a janitor. You gave him access to the most sensitive part of your personal life. And now it's online. He didn't post it, she replied. He didn't even know it existed. Someone in this building leaked it. Greg's tone dropped, just slightly. People are going to talk. They already are. Vanessa stood, slowly, not with rage, but with something quieter, heavier. If my daughter's healing offends your shareholders more than her suffering did, maybe we're in the wrong business. Then she left the room. No slamming doors. No dramatic exits. Just the quiet footsteps of a mother no longer willing to apologize for choosing presence over polish. Downstairs, Malik waited for her outside the car. He'd seen the article. Of course he had. You okay? He asked gently. Vanessa nodded, but her voice trembled when she said, no. And for the first time, she let someone see her fall apart. The silence returned like a wave no one saw coming. It started subtly. Lila stopped reaching for her crayons. Then, the soft hum she used to make while tracing circles disappeared. She sat farther away from Tyson the next time he visited. Then, one night, she didn't come to the window at all. By the following morning, Lila wouldn't get out of bed. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just folded in on herself. And Malik wasn't allowed in. The photo had created a storm too big, too fast. Sterling Teka's board demanded distance from the situation. Legal teams sent cautionary emails. The company image was on the line. So Vanessa had told him, gently, that he needed to stay away. Just for now. Malik didn't argue. He just looked at her and said, if she stops speaking, it won't be because of me. And now, here they were. Vanessa stood outside her daughter's door, her hand trembling just above the handle. 4 hours, she'd stayed outside, waiting for a change, for movement, for something. But nothing came. She remembered the old Vanessa, the one who would have called a doctor, or two, maybe even three. The one who would have booked a private jet to fly in a behavior specialist from Los Angeles before the afternoon was over. But that woman, she didn't belong here anymore. So instead, she opened the door slowly. The room was dark, curtains half drawn. Lila was curled in the corner again, giraffe clutched to her chest like armor. Vanessa didn't speak, didn't ask questions. She walked in, slowly, and sat on the floor. No chair, no clipboard, no pretense. She sat exactly where Malik had sat, cross-legged, barefoot, quiet, and she waited. 1 minute, then 2, then 20. No movement. Her fingers itched to pull out her phone, to do something, anything. But she didn't. Instead, she reached behind her and pulled out something she hadn't touched in years. A small, wrinkled sketch pad. From the back of her closet, she tore out a page, grabbed a pen, and drew. Poorly. Crooked lines. Wobbly shapes. A girl. A giraffe. A tiny bubble, floating above. Then, she pushed the paper gently across the carpet. Lila didn't respond. But Vanessa stayed. For the first time, not as a CEO, not even as a mother with a plan, but simply as a human being, willing to be still. Because Malik had been right all along. Healing didn't come from fixing. It came from staying. It was nearly sunset when Vanessa showed up at Malik's apartment. No driver. No assistant. No prearranged meeting. Just her, standing in the hallway of a modest building in Harlem, arms crossed but posture different. Not stiff. Not guarded. Tired. He opened the door with Tyson by his side, still holding a game controller. The scent of something warm and familiar, maybe chili, maybe cornbread, drifted through the air. Vanessa looked like she hadn't slept. Her hair was up, but not perfectly. Her makeup had faded. Her voice, when it came, was soft. She stopped drawing, she said. Malik nodded once. I figured. She won't eat. Barely blinks. And I... She paused, exhaled, then looked at him straight on. "I told you to step back. And I shouldn't have." He didn't say "I told you so." He didn't gloat. He didn't even move. He just listened. "She's not broken," Vanessa whispered. "But I think I might be." Malik finally stepped aside. "Come in." She did. She sat on the edge of their worn couch, hands clasped so tight her knuckles went pale. Tyson returned to his game without question, understanding, without needing words, that grown-ups were in something sacred. Malik poured her a glass of water. From the tap. No lemon. No garnish. She took it without hesitation. "I keep trying to solve her," she said. "Like she's a business model that's underperforming. But she's not a spreadsheet. She's a person." Malik leaned against the counter, folding his arms. "And people, they don't need fixing. They need witnessing." Vanessa looked up, her eyes rimmed with fatigue, but no longer with fear. "What do I do?" she asked. "You don't do," Malik said gently. "You stay. You sit. You listen. You let her show you who she is, without forcing her to become who you expected." Silence settled over the room. But it wasn't empty. It was full. Heavy. Real. Vanessa nodded slowly, then whispered, "Will you come back?" "Only if she wants me to," Malik answered. "But I'll be waiting, right outside her world, until she invites me in again." She stood, looked around, saw the crayon drawings taped to Tyson's bedroom wall, then said, almost to herself, "I never knew healing could look this quiet." Malik smiled faintly. "It usually does." The press conference wasn't part of any plan. No PR team. No drafted statement. No carefully curated press packet with bullet points and stock phrases. Just Vanessa, standing alone behind a podium set up in front of the Sterling Tech building, facing a crowd that had already made up its mind. The morning had started with headlines. Sterling on the edge. CEO prioritizes personal over profit. From glass towers to bubble therapy. Has Vanessa lost control? Camera flashes clicked like distant lightning. Reporters crowded beneath umbrellas. Microphones outstretched like arrows. Malik watched from a quiet distance across the street, arms folded, unnoticed but not unseen. He didn't come to speak. He came to see if she'd speak truth. Vanessa stepped to the mic. No designer dress. No sleek ponytail. Just a navy blouse, dark jeans, and rain-dampened hair. She looked less like a billionaire, and more like a mother. She cleared her throat. "You've asked for an explanation," she said, voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "You want to know why a janitor was sitting with my daughter. Why Bubbles calmed her more than thousands of dollars worth of therapy. Why I chose someone, that didn't fit the model." She paused, let the question hang in the air. "Because nothing else worked." Click. Flash. "Because my daughter stopped speaking. Stopped engaging. Stopped eating. And the world told me to fix her with more professionals. More credentials. More protocols. And for years, I listened to that world. More clicks. More silence. But then a man, who no one noticed, sat on the floor. Said nothing. Did nothing. Just waited. And for the first time, my daughter reached." Her voice cracked. Just slightly. "I'm not here to defend my choice. I'm here to say I finally made one." Somewhere in the back, a reporter called out, "Is Malik Johnson officially employed by Sterling Tech?" Vanessa smiled softly. "No, he's not on payroll. He's not a consultant. He's not a strategy." Another voice. "Then who is he?" She looked toward the street, straight into Malik's eyes. "He's family," she said. The crowd murmured. Not in disapproval, but in something like reverence. And in that moment, under gray skies and sharp scrutiny, Vanessa Sterling did something she'd never done in any boardroom. She stopped leading with power, and started leading with presence. As the reporters filed out, questions fading like static, Malik finally turned to leave. But not before Vanessa whispered into the mic, barely audible. She spoke again, yesterday. Then she stepped down, and walked, no ran, toward the one person who never needed a title to matter. The building used to be a bank. Cold walls. Empty halls. windows sealed with years of dust and stories no one wanted to hear. But not anymore. Now, the doors opened into sunlight and laughter, into color and sound, into safety. The new sign above the entrance read, "The Listening Room," and beneath it, in smaller hand-carved letters, "Where silence is honored, and every sound matters." Vanessa had funded the entire renovation herself, quietly, anonymously at first. No investors, no brand partnerships, just one check and one promise, that no child would have to perform in order to be seen. Malik oversaw the design. No desks, no strict lines, just cushions, textures, art stations, and soundproof corners where kids could breathe without being told to whisper. They didn't call it a therapy center. They called it a haven. And it was. On the first day it opened, Lila stood at the front window, holding a single crayon in her hand. Blue. Malik stood beside her. Tyson was already inside, organizing a shelf of puzzles by color, his own way of feeling in control. Vanessa came in carrying 3 folding chairs under one arm and a box of paintbrushes in the other. No heels. No laptop. No rush. She caught Lila's eye. "Wanna help me set up?" Lila didn't answer with words. She walked to the art wall and taped her latest drawing in the center. 3 stick figures, holding hands beneath a sky of yellow stars. One had curly hair. One had glasses. One had a bun. At the bottom, in careful block letters, "We built this together." No one cried. Not right away. But everyone felt it. And when the first group of kids walked in, some holding stuffed animals, others wearing headphones to mute the world, they weren't greeted with forms or assessments. They were handed crayons. And told, "Start wherever you feel safest." Malik watched it all from a corner, his arms crossed, his heart full. Vanessa stepped beside him. "You know," she said, "this might be the most important thing I've ever been part of. And no one will know." Malik looked at her. "I think that's the point." She smiled, then added, "You were never just a janitor." He shrugged. "And you were never just a CEO. You were a mom, trying to figure out how to listen." She tilted her head. "You think we got it right?" He turned to the room, where Lila was now showing a younger child how to draw a sun with gentle swirls. "I think we're still listening," he said. "And that's more than most ever do." Outside, a breeze blew through the doorway. Children laughed. Parents exhaled. And in the middle of the room, beside an open window, 3 paper stars spun slowly in the light. One blue, one yellow, one red. Sometimes, the loudest healing begins in silence. We live in a world obsessed with fixing, explaining, labeling. When something or someone doesn't follow the rules, our first instinct is to manage it, change it, make it more comfortable for us to understand. But maybe, not everything broken needs a solution. Maybe some things just need to be seen and heard. Malik didn't come with credentials or degrees stamped in gold. He didn't carry a clipboard or a list of metrics to measure success. He came with presence, with patience, with stillness. And that was enough. Because presence is powerful. We forget that sometimes. We scroll past people's pain, offer surface-level sympathy, and then move on with our day. But what would happen if we just stayed? If we sat on the floor beside someone instead of trying to pull them to their feet? This story isn't just about a little girl learning to trust again. It's about all of us. About slowing down long enough to let love speak in whatever language it chooses. Color, silence, or a single word whispered when no one's expecting it. So wherever you are right now, maybe you don't need to fix it. Maybe you just need to listen. If this story moved you, even just a little, if it reminded you that love doesn't always need to be loud to be real, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a blue heart in the comments. Or tell us where you're watching from. Your words matter more than you know. And we read every single one. And if you believe more people need reminders like this, share this video with a friend, a parent, a teacher, someone who might need to feel seen today. And hey, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Tap the bell. Because sometimes, the next story isn't just one you'll love. It's one you'll need.